Hello everyone, this is Ava from Soul GPS. Welcome. In today's episode, we're going to talk about how a narcissistic partner grooms you into their perfect supply. What kind of steps will they take to gradually erode your boundaries and defenses and exploit your vulnerabilities in order to turn you into someone they can control? That is the goal. So what I'm going to specifically hone in on today is that moment where the negotiation begins, where you're pushed to the point of such intense fear, I'd even say terror, that they invoke within you, that you begin to agree to things that are not clearly in your favor. And they have a variety of tactics to do this. And I want to say that it's very, very difficult game to play, especially for people with conscience, because the other side will not hesitate to use dirty tricks. In fact, they do it all the time. So I wanted to lay this out because I'm thinking this could be very helpful for you to be able to pinpoint when it happened to you, or whether you may be in that stage now. And the stage is basically going from idealization to devaluation. It's that pivot point between when the relationship is still giving you some positive energy or reinforcement, to where it starts to degrade and you are beginning to feel like you're being put up against a wall and torn down. So here is how it goes. It all begins with them creating confusion and causing upheaval by threatening relationship stability. Now, these relationships are not stable to begin with. We need to be clear about this. But they seem stable at the start, especially for people who haven't been through this yet. They don't have anything to compare it to. So let's compare it to a healthy relationship for a moment. In a healthy relationship, there is a certain stability in it. For example, people tend to get rewarded for positive behavior with more positive reciprocal behavior. That's how a relationship grows and intimacy deepens. For example, people help each other. They share deep thoughts with one another. They open up about their past and do so gradually. They say nice things to each other. They express appreciation. They invite their partner to do things together. But, and here's the big asterisk, in order for this to grow and deepen, there needs to also be reciprocity. It's like breath. You can't only live on an exhale because you're going to run out of oxygen and die. And the same with inhales. If you take too much in, you may choke on your own breath. So you need to find balance in and out. You give, you receive. You give, you receive. And the other person does the same thing. And you can create a beautiful dance. It's never going to be perfect. There'll be times when you feel like you're giving too much. And then there are times when maybe you feel a little guilty because you feel like you're receiving too much. That's normal. And you can always bring it back to equilibrium with mindfulness and intention and taking your action. So it is healthy to expect things in a relationship. But now I want to underline the word expect here, because so many people, especially those of us who came out of abusive relationships, we may feel like the word expect is such a dirty word, like you should never expect anything. It is not true. Let me tell you this. I've tried that. It doesn't work. And I tried to actually work with expectation, and it works beautifully. It's fine to expect honesty, affection, support, especially when relationship is still in its early stages and it's progressing. Otherwise, there's nothing to build on. A healthy place to start is to share each other's values, because the values that we hold are going to determine the actions that we take. and they define our behavior. It is actually one of the first stages of healing that I introduce in my Unchained program that I have on my website. If you're interested in looking into it, it is aimed to help people break trauma bonds and create a healthier relationship with themselves. So back to an abusive relationship. There is a semblance of order at the start. Even an overdose of goodness. It's a big red flag, as you know, manifested as love bombing. For example, you may experience too much affection, too much attention. You're feeling smothered. It is idealization stage in its bloom. So while they're idealizing you and putting you on a pedestal, you may notice that they're openly degrading other people to your face, their exes, family members, so-called friends, the guy sitting on the table next to you. It's a big red flag. This is a sign of inconsistency inside them, lack of integrity maybe. So pay attention to this. Also, they may be doing a lot of future planning or future faking, hinting towards things like traveling together, maybe even having babies or marrying you, or even doing something fun next week. The key word here is hinting. So if you're a person with imagination, which most of us are, you may imagine these amazing things you would be doing together. But then, of course, they never really come to fruition. Maybe a little bit, but never to the degree that you would expect. There's that dirty word again, expect. And then suddenly the pattern of overinflated attention begins to break, right? There is space, silence, and suspicion. You're wondering, what is going on? What did you do, right? First question we ask ourselves, what did I do? That's when the true nature of a narcissist begins to come out. Why? Why does it happen like this? Well, first, it's because keeping up the mask requires a lot of energy. Imagine going around the world and pretending you're somebody you're not. And it's a slightly different version for each person you're interacting with, because you're trying to become the perfect fit with them, so that they feel like you're just the best, most amazing person they've ever met. And of course, there's a web of lies that goes along with it, because you need to remember what you said to this person and when. And of course, this can all create confusion inside the narcissist's mind too, which is why sometimes the things that they say stop adding up. I remember that moment when it happened to me and the feeling I had in my gut. I ignored it to my peril, but usually it's early that you notice this. Could be in their backstory, for example. They tell you different versions. The other reason why the mask begins to drop and they stop giving you the same attention that they used to is because they begin to suspect that you suspect. And there's nothing worse for them because, of course, they operate the best under a con. Or they bump up against your boundaries, which they despise. You say no to them. You refuse to do something they want to do. Maybe they try to talk you into doing something illegal or something that just disgusts you. And they're going to be very mad, very upset. So why do they do this? Well, there's a really weird mechanism that operates inside them, which is basically that all the darkness that they hold stems from the fact that it's chaos. They don't know who they are. They have a lot of contrasting messages inside them, which is basically like a love-hate relationship. On the one hand, or I should say hate-love, they hate who they are. And on the other hand, they love the fake persona that they're creating. That's massive cognitive dissonance. And then if you spend enough time with a narcissist, you will start to feel this cognitive dissonance too. Because what they will do is they will project that inner chaos outside of themselves and create chaos and upheaval inside your mind. And then once they push you to the point of reactivity, they will point at you and with delight proclaim, look at you. You're the monster. Look at what you're doing to me, right? How often does this happen? It breaks my heart when I get letters from people who are just the sweetest. You can tell from their story. They're trying so hard and yet they have the doubt. They feel like they are the narcissist. which there's something really healthy and unhealthy about this, because it's natural for people with conscience to first second guess themselves and to want to take responsibility. But we run into the danger of going way too far, enabling the narcissist and then carrying their cross for them. It's not something you want to do. So they feel chaos inside, which they try to overcome by controlling the outside, as in controlling other people. And because they have this hate-love relationship with themselves and over-depend on the outside for their validation, they're never stable. So the relationship can never be stable. And to get that validation, they become very good at glowing, shining. They cultivate a form of superficial magnetism, which can be attractive to the uninitiated. And by initiated, I mean a person who has been through the process of recovery and now can spot narcissists early and relatively easily. So ultimately, there is no healthy pattern to this behavior, to their behavior. There's nothing solid you can count on, nothing to build a long-term relationship on. They have no solid values. There's instead a pattern of rejection, devaluation, and neglect. That's what you eat for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Some will even play the victim, turning things around so that they can offload responsibility and you take the blame. That's when they feel a momentary sense of relief. And this is why most of their relationships fall apart sooner or later. Unless they're with another narcissist, in which case the bilateral dysfunction creates an illusion of stability. So again, I want you to not project so much of your own desires for a fairy tale relationship onto the relationship that the narcissist will have with their next supply. Those are your dreams. Remember, what they have going on over there, it's either part 2 of what they've been through with you, or maybe if they found a narcissist, they're going to, keep going back and forth, fighting a war, telling their wins and losses, signing treaties, and have momentary episodes of peace, and then get back at each other's throats again, and that just can go for years and years and years. So don't think it's all roses and unicorns over there. It's not. So often in those early stages, right, where we're pinpointing that moment, when you least expect it, they will shift on you. They'll cancel on you, say something very hurtful, twist the truth so that it now works against you. They lie to you openly, or you find something that they lied to you about and tell them. They punish you with silence, etc. The fairy tale begins to crumble. There's this behavior, these tactics that they will use to punish you will cause emotional upheaval and incite fear. And if you are generally anxious or fear abandonment, this is going to hit you hard. It will put you in a deep psychological and emotional confusion and make you ripe for manipulation. That's because the mind doesn't like confusion and the body doesn't like fear. Your mind and body in pain will make you seek anything to hang on to so that order can be restored as quickly as possible. It's very similar to how it is in trance induction. The mind is first confused to slightly lose grip with reality, and then it grabs onto the next thing that floats up to it in order to feel grounded again. A good hypnotherapist is going to do this in a way so that they can liquefy a negative belief you hold about yourself. They will put that in doubt, and then they will insert a suggestion or a statement that is meant to empower you, and that will become your new normal, your new reality. Narcissists do the same thing, but they do the opposite. They disempower you. So they will make you feel, they will challenge your positive belief about yourself so they can make you feel bad about yourself with something that they say. So notice that. Pay attention to this. It's very destructive. I was once actually in a relationship with a hypnotherapist who was using this work in a way I'm sure you can imagine. It was pretty devastating. So your mind and body will make you seek anything to hang on to so that order can be restored. And what's wise to do here is to not react or to process your reaction in private and to seek balance within, away from the presence of the manipulator so that you can sort things out on your own. This is very hard to do for the first time initially, especially if you've never been taught how to do it, but it is possible to learn and there's help out there. So you don't want to let the narcissist know that they have put you in this horrific reaction. You want to get away from there as quickly as possible. Don't start to cry, don't start to fall apart in front of them, because now they'll know that they've pushed you. Your boundaries are now liquid and they can start going inside and inserting their new programming into you so that you start to do things that they want you to do. Get away from there. Get some peace, get some perspective, talk to a friend, do anything so that you can not be pulled into this game. And unfortunately, that's not what most of us do. I didn't do it in the beginning myself. We go back to the oppressor and start our peace talks. And this is exactly what they want you to do. And there's a danger here, because in this dysregulated state, especially if you don't like conflict, you will have the tendency to agree with anything they ask just so that the conflict and the awful feelings would go away. And this gives them tremendous power here, because they know that you don't want to feel this way and will do anything to stop this. And this is how they test you. They see how much they can get from you, how hard they can push you before you melt or break. This over time will systematically rob you of your identity and turn you into their slave. And if you think that this will make your partner happy and turn them back into their earlier version, be aware that this is not the case at all. Once they have you within their grasp, they will lose all respect for you, because deep inside they know that they're conning you and that you bought into their lie. They only respect people, if they respect anyone at all, who are strong enough to resist their games. But that usually means the end of the relationship. So how can you immunize yourself against this insidious manipulation? What's the remedy? Well, I want to give you 4 steps. And if you can, write those down, because they can save your life. Step 1 is to know yourself. Feel yourself deeply. Inquire into your emotions. What are they telling you? When you feel things are off, they likely are. You wouldn't feel this way in a healthy relationship. There's respect in healthy relationships. There are conflicts and misunderstandings too, naturally, but they usually get cleared up quickly. They don't pile on and are not jarring or meant to destroy the other person. Step 2, learn to set boundaries. I know I talk about it a lot, but one quick way to do this is to literally pull back. Yank yourself out of the situation. Take time for yourself. Break the pattern of going back. Don't say yes to everything. Dare to disagree, especially in the beginning. Step 3, present your own treaty conditions. So if there is conflict, and if you are negotiating, you have the right to also state what your expectations are. And you're going to have to be very strong here, because you'll need to overcome your fear of abandonment and put everything on the line. The person needs to know and feel that you're serious about this. If you don't strike an agreement in which your side of the deal is expected, they need to know that you are out. Here's some examples. If they're being aggressive while you're being helpful, you take back the help until they treat you with respect. You have to be very specific what your expectations are. Don't leave them vague. With a lover, if they don't respect your body, you stop being intimate with them. If an elderly parent, for example, is not respectful, you stop visiting them. So that's step 3. Present your treaty conditions. Step 4. If you do strike an agreement and the agreement is broken, what do? You leave. You have to be very serious about this. This is your life at stake. Your finances, your future, your emotional health, your physical health. because otherwise nothing will change. You'll still be stuck in a cycle. If that's the case, and you see that change is unlikely, then you know who you're dealing with. And that's really good. It's good to know this sooner than later. It is better to be on your own than to be regularly degraded and robbed of your dignity. I remember the year when I was single after I left my abuser. Of course, for the first about 2 months were the worst, and the next 2 months were a little bit better. And then finally, I decided to take myself on a journey. This was actually, looking back, this happened 3 years ago. This is one of the best times in my life. I learned so much about myself. It felt great to actually have made the vow not to be in a relationship and to just learn about who I am, learn about my daily rhythms, give myself the love that I looked for. And I did start to meet really wonderful people after that. I was able to reset my baseline. I stopped being a people pleaser. I started to connect with people like you. This was really pivotal time in my life. So don't be afraid. Don't be afraid to go on your own hero's journey. You may find treasures that you never thought would be possible. I know that this path is riddled with fear, but there's no better way to overcome fear than to actually face it. So I hope you enjoyed this podcast form of a video today. Do let me know in the comments what you think, and yeah, what you think about the points I have listed. Let me know if I have missed anything. Let me know how you have come to that realization, understanding that you were being trapped, and what steps did you take. And if you are currently suffering from a breakup due to trauma bonding, you feel like you can't pull away psychically, mentally, physically, check out my Unchained program. In it, I included everything that helped me break free and live my best life. And you will find it on www.mysoulgps.org. And for now, I thank you very much, and I wish you all the best.